Creative financing, how to help you take the money that you have, go farther so you can buy more properties for less money out of your pocket. That's the key to scaling and scaling fast. If you want to know how to do it, stick around. Hey guys, my name is Jay Lehman. I'm a licensed realtor here in Champaign, Illinois, and I help real estate investors like you, because I'm one myself, buy cash flowing, income producing real estate. And we like to buy that real estate for the least amount of money down. You know, I always talk about real estate, and when we talk about financing, because usually we're going to finance, we're not going to buy cash usually because, well, a lot of my investors don't have cash. And if you can use a loan and use somebody else's money, that's usually advantageous to you. There's a time for cash, but today we're going to talk about financing. When we talk about financing, remember, we want to put the least amount of money down, borrow for the longest amount of time, and get the lowest possible interest rate. And sometimes that's difficult with traditional financing. So I'm going to break down traditional financing, seller financing, and a hybrid of traditional and seller financing called the seller carryback. So traditional financing, you're probably aware of. If you're buying a commercial property that you're not going to live in, you're probably going to have to put 20% down, and then the bank is going to provide 80% loan. Sometimes on a commercial loan, it can be 25, it can be 30%, right? This 25 can go up, but that's what has to come out of your pocket. So $100,000 property, you got to put $20,000 down. $1 million property, you got to put $200,000 down. That's traditional financing. Most realtors and most investors have only bought something with this. So if you want to be average, you can do that. But if you don't want to be average, stick around and listen to these creative financing things that some realtors don't even know about or have never used themselves. Let's talk about this one right here, seller financing. Seller financing, especially in a high interest rate environment, can allow you to put less money down, get a lower interest rate, and borrow the money for a longer period of time, depending on what the seller's goals are. It's really about what does the seller want. The benefits to the seller is, hey, I might not get all my money up front, but I'll have less of a tax burden if I sell it on seller financing. I'll owe less money to the IRS, and I'll get a higher price. Usually on seller financing, you're gonna give the price that the seller wants for the property, but you're gonna get favorable terms. Let's say that the seller wants $200,000, okay? But you only wanna pay $150,000. Well, that's a pretty big gap, right? He wants 33% more for the property than you want to pay for the property. But seller finance, you could say, okay, Mr. Seller, rather than giving you $200,000 where I have to come up with $40,000 or 20% down, what if I did this? What if I said, I'm gonna give you 5% down, Mr. Seller? So 5% of 200,000 equals 10,000. And I want you to give me a loan, seller financing, for $190,000. Now, where did I get that number? He wanted 200,000, so I put down 10,000. He's going to give me a loan for 190,000. But here's the deal. I don't really want to pay a high interest rate on this because I'm giving you your price. So what you can tell the seller is, hey, I'm willing to pay you 2% interest only to you over the next 10 years. He may agree to that. He may not agree to that. 2% interest only, so think about $1,900 would be 1%. 2% interest only would be $3,800. I know that's a lot of math, but all it would take would be $10,000 plus $3,800 a year in interest. And let's say this $200,000 property, that interest, that very low loan payment, the $3,800 a month, which is less than which is about $300 a month in a loan payment that you're paying back to this person, your property is going to cash flow $300 a month, right? After you pay him his $3,800 a month and you put $10,000 down. So you're focusing on, hey, I get a better interest rate, I'm putting less money down, I'm giving him his price of $200,000, but I get great terms, okay? And he's gonna take his money over a period of time rather than getting his money up front. Now, seller financing, I can break down even more. There's all kinds of ways to do it, but true seller financing is using the seller himself as a bank and then paying interest to the seller himself. Now, the seller carryback is one that we use a lot. The seller carryback blends traditional financing with seller financing. This is how you do it. The seller carryback helps you with one of the biggest hurdles that we have as real estate investors, which is not enough money to put down. Guys, cash is king when it comes to real estate as far as getting deals done. And if you don't have 20%, you're probably not going to be able to do traditional financing unless you do a house hack where you're going to live in one unit and rent the other units out. That's where the seller carryback actually helps out quite a bit. With the seller carryback, I'm going to use a traditional loan and have the seller help me with the down payment. So in this case of a $100,000 property, I need $20,000 down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a bank loan for $80,000. Okay? I'm going to put down only $10,000, but I'm still $10,000 short. I'm going to ask the seller, hey, would you carry back another $10,000 for me that I can pay on a second mortgage to you? He'll say, well, why would I do that? We'll say, okay, I'll give you the price that you want for the property. You'll get $90,000 at closing, $80,000 from the bank, $10,000 from me, and then the other $10,000 you're gonna carry back, let's say at $10,000 at 5% interest only, which is only $500 a year, right? Which breaks down to about a little over 40 bucks a month to get $10,000 of the seller's money. So the seller carryback uses the principles of traditional financing and seller financing to get the seller a majority of his money. He's going to get $90,000 right now. He's then providing a secondary mortgage to you for $10,000. You're going to pay him and you're going to pay the loan, and hopefully it cash flows for you. Now, whenever I have more financing on a property, I buy it for lower money down and finance more, but the cash flow will always be lower because I have a higher debt service. So sometimes when you buy with the seller carryback, your cash flow isn't as strong or you're breaking even. But remember, you only had to put $10,000 down rather than $20,000 down. So even if I lost $2,000 a year on this property for the next 5 years, that would be the same as me putting down, it'd be better than me putting down another 10,000, because if you follow me, 10,000 down plus 10,000 over 5 years, which is 2,000 a year, is like putting $20,000 down, but I actually get to spread out that loss, that down payment of $2,000 a year over 5 years. Now that's a complex concept. If you need to rewind and watch it again, I get it. And there's a lot of scribbles here, but the key is this: seller financing allows you to use a bank loan for 80%, use some of the seller's money, and use some of your monies. There's also properties where we've done this. We've got an $80,000 loan. The seller is going to get $80,000 at closing. It's a $100,000 property, and the seller carries back $20,000, meaning the seller carries back all of your down payment. And this guy the seller gets $80,000 and it has a second mortgage to you for $20,000 that you're paying off at an agreed interest rate. This will probably not cash flow great because you're financing 100% of the purchase, but you're getting in for no money out of your pocket. People think that you need money to make money. Real estate completely obliterates that myth because you're using other people's money. As long as you have other people's money, you can make money. It's not about having money to make money. It's about other people's money. And when you're using the bank's money and the seller's money to get cash flowing assets like real estate, that's only going to appreciate over time, and you get to depreciate the price of it to help your tax liability, your wealth will start to explode. Listen, I talked a lot here. Would you drop a comment below and tell me, do you like traditional? Do you like seller financing? Do you like the seller carryback, which is the blend of traditional and seller financing? All of these are methods. They're tools in your toolbox to get the properties that you want for low or no money down. The more properties you can get by using the least amount of down payment and the longest amortization on the loan, the better your cash flow and the better your financial situation will be on your way to buying and creating wealth through real estate. Let's go.